Alright guys, we're back. So this is splitting the positive, part 2. Okay, so I have depleted these batteries now with the inverter. I had the inverter running, I had the motor running, and I basically had 2 phone chargers as well plugged in along with that light. So I dropped it down to, let's see where we're at. .33. That recovered to 12.33, and that is at 12.26. So these are our depleted batteries, and these are our charged batteries. It's at 12.85, and this one's at 12.85. So these are our batteries that are going to be. We're going to put these batteries in series, and we're going to put these in parallel. And I took all the wires off so I can show you how to connect it all for anybody who wants to learn how to do this from scratch. So what I want to explain here first is so normally we run load off a single battery like this. Basically we connect the motor to it like this, we connect the motor to a battery, and basically it draws amperage. And I'll show you that real quick. It won't take long to hook it up. So normally we would run. I'll just run it off a single battery so that we can see. Just put this one over here for right now. So we've got an amp meter right here so we can measure the current. So I'm basically just going to put that on the positive right there. We'll put our voltmeter. Here's 2 voltage, put it on DC. And let's see. I guess I could use this one right here since. So we'll put our voltmeter right here. So we got 1236. We'll connect the negative of the motor. So this battery is pretty depleted right now, so it'll probably drop pretty low. And now we're going to connect the positive to the amp meter right here. As you can see, it's drawing 1 amp, and that battery is dropping pretty quick because I did take a lot of power out of it. As you can see here, we're drawing 1 amp, the motor's running like normal, and the battery is dropping pretty dead. So that's running on a closed loop circuit. That's how we run our loads off of a DC battery normally, is what I'm trying to show you, right? So I'm going to turn it off. Disconnect everything. Bring that battery back over here because we're going to use it. Okay, and then let me position the camera again. So yeah, basically running a load off a single battery like this will, over time, depending how big the load is, it will basically drain and kill itself, because the electrons are flowing through the load and back into the battery, whichever way. It's just, constantly doing that cycle. The energy is not going anywhere else. It's going back into the battery and out, back into the battery, into the load, out. It's just, I guess, just like the snake eats its own tail. It's just like an infinite loop of death. So like, you don't get no gains by doing this. After it's dead, you got to recharge it. You got to put a car charger, put a solar panel, or charge it, however. But you do still have to recharge this battery, and you only get a certain amount of runtime by running, your inverter or a motor or your lights or whatever you're running off of this. You only get a certain amount of runtime. So I'm going to show you a setup now and a lot of people call it splitting the positive, or the Tesla 3 battery system. I would like to call it the 4 battery system because I'm going to use 4 batteries. There's other names for this setup, but let's call it the 4 battery system or whatever. Or splitting the positive. I just call it splitting the positive. Because when I first learned about this back then, that's what it was called, splitting the positive. And this works both ways. Like, you know, yeah, you can get more efficiency, like running on 24 volts versus running on, you know, one battery. If you had a 24 volt load, you know, running it in series, you get less heat because, you know, your wires will stay cooler because it's running at a higher voltage, you know. So either way though, this is still a closed loop circuit. So now I want to show you the actual circuit here that we're going to be using for this. So let me get that in frame. So this is the 4 battery system. So basically we have 2 batteries right here, which are these, and these are going to be wired in parallel. Well, basically the positive and the positive get connected together, and the negative and the negative get connected together. So we'll go ahead and follow this diagram. Let me see if I can place it somewhere. I'll place it right here. Okay, so you see, so we're going to connect 2 positives and 2 negatives together from these 2 batteries. And I already made some jumper leads, so I just have this one jumper lead right here with a spade connector in the middle of these 2, just so I can connect something to the positives. So I'm going to connect the positives right here. And right here. So now both the positives are connected. And we're going to connect both of the negatives, which is going to be just this wire right here. So now those are both in parallel. And now we can put our voltmeter onto the battery. It doesn't matter which, now they're both the same battery because they're in parallel. So we'll go ahead and put it right here. And you can see we're at 12.30. And this is the amp meter. This is a 5 amp meter. So we're going to go ahead and plug that in right here for our load, which our load is going to be this 12 volt motor. And we're just going to leave that out for now. So that's it. Now this is wired in parallel. And now to wire this battery bank into 24 volts. And now let me explain something real quick before I go to this. These batteries are all exactly the same. They're all 7 amp hour batteries, you know, as you can see here. It says right here 12 volt 7 amp hour, right? But let's say, just to make the math easy, let's say they were all 10 amp hour batteries, you know. So whenever you put 2 batteries in parallel, you're increasing the amperage capacity. So if one battery is 10 amps, putting it in parallel, I'm making a 20 amp battery. But when you put it in parallel, you're increasing the amperage capacity, but the voltage stays the same no matter how many batteries you put in parallel. You know, if I put 2 of them in parallel here and they're 10 amp hours each, it's going to be 20 amps, you know, at 12 volts. That's it. Now if we put a battery bank here in series and they're both 10 amps, when you put batteries in series, you increase your voltage by however many batteries you have in series, but the amperage stays the same. So if we have 2 10 amp hour batteries in series, basically that's only a 10 amp hour battery at 24 volts. So, you know, if I put another one, it would be 36 volts at 10 amps still. If I put another one, it would be 48 volts at 10 amps, and so on. So, but that's how it works. So series connections, on when you wire batteries in series, you're increasing your voltage, but the amperage stays the same. And then the parallel battery bank is when you put them in parallel, you're increasing your amperage capacity, but your voltage stays the same. And you can combine the two if you want to get advanced later. That's what solar systems do. But I'm not gonna confuse you right now. So now we're gonna put this in series, this battery bank, just with a single wire, which is a little bit longer, so it can reach from the. So we're gonna connect this in series. There we go. I actually had this for another battery. So now all I did was connect the negative of this battery and jumped it over to the positive of this battery. And now we have a positive and negative here. So actually I'm going to use this voltmeter for the to read the voltage off this one. So the way I'll do this, okay, now before I put the diagram away, now that this is wired in series, you see the negative is connected to the positive, and negative is connected to the positive. Then you have your negative and positive of your 24 volt battery bank. And you can see here now, if I read the voltage on this battery bank, it should have 24 volts. 25.70, because it's fully charged. Almost fully charged, but it's pretty charged. So now, so that's a 24 volt battery bank, and that's a 12 volt battery bank, and I'll show you that right here and right here. 12.31. Okay, but I'm going to use this voltmeter on this side. That's why I had 3 of them. I'm going to need 3 voltmeters here to show you what's going on. Okay, so now then the last step to connect these batteries together is now we have this negative that's open, and we have 2 negatives over here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect this negative to any one of these negatives over here. They're bridged, so they're the same connection. So that's why I made this little short alligator clip. So we're gonna we'll just connect the first negative over here. Doesn't matter which one, to this negative over here. So that's it. They're just bridged with the negatives. That doesn't mean they're transferring energy yet or anything like that. They're just, the negatives are bridged. And I can show you it's not doing anything but just sitting there on the same voltage. Okay. Alright, so now so now you can see the diagram. And basically, now you have this positive right here on the 24 volt battery bank that's open. It's not connected to anything. And you have 2 positives that are bridged right here that are going through the ammeter, but they're not connected to anything. So this right here, as a matter of fact, actually I need to move this over here. Sorry about that. The ammeter is going to go on this battery. I had it on this one because we were testing the load of a single battery setup. So we're going to bring that over here. So basically, let's bring the schematic over here again. So basically we have 2 positives. We got this positive right here connected to both positives. They're in parallel, combining it to one. And then you have this positive on the 24 volt battery bank that's open. So these 2 positives right here, that is your positives to run your load. And basically the positive of the 24 volt battery bank is your actual positive for your load, and the positive of the 12 volt battery bank is your negative to your load. So if you were going to connect a 12 volt inverter to these batteries, you would connect the negative to this side. This is your negative, and this is your positive, and that's pretty much the whole. But since this battery bank right here on the left is 24 volts, and this is 12 volts, there's a voltage difference between 24 volts and 12 volts. Should be around 12, depending how depleted this one is, depending how charged up this is. There's going to be voltage now that I've bridged the negatives. You can read voltage between these two positives, and we're going to go ahead and do that. And that will tell you also the polarity as well. So I'll connect the negative right here to the positive of the 12 volt, and I'll connect the positive of the voltmeter to the positive. So see, we have a potential voltage difference of 13.39 right now. That's our actual running battery voltage that we can use to run this motor or something else. But you see, I have no negative sign. You know, anybody who knows how to use a multimeter will know that that's the correct polarity. But if we do swap the polarities, put the positive of the voltmeter over here and the negative over here, you see we get that negative symbol. That tells us that the polarity is incorrect. You know, let me get another battery real quick. Like for example, what I mean is, like, here's a normal battery, right? If I, you know, take the negative of the voltmeter, put it on here, and the positive, we get a reading, 12.58, right? Like normal. But let's say I accidentally connected my probes in the wrong spot, or I have the negative and the positive. It'll still read the voltage, but I'm going to have a negative symbol here, meaning that the polarity is incorrect. So you can use your voltmeter to tell you which one of these is your negative and which one of these is your positives. But if you're wiring it up correctly, the one on the negative, the positive on the negative, the positive connection on the 12 volt battery bank is your negative connection, and the positive on your 24 volt bank is your positive. Alright, so now we got the schematic out of the way. I'm going to raise this up over here so I can hook up the voltages and show you the voltages of everything going on in amperage and everything. So you can see all three of those meters. So we're going to put this voltmeter, the yellow one is going to be the voltage of the 24 volt battery bank right here. And let me get my amp meter. So the amp meter, since this is the positive, the amp meter is going to connect right here. And I'll put the voltmeter right here. So now we're reading 25.71 on the 24 volt battery bank. And I'll put the motor in between the batteries. Okay, so now this voltmeter, we're going to put this on the 12 volt battery bank. So this is the negative, so I'm going to connect it right here. And this is the positive, so we'll connect it to right here. Doesn't matter because they're both the same, they're bridged to the same connection. So now we got 12.30, and now I'm going to get this other smaller voltmeter right here, put it on 20 volt scale DC, and we're going to connect this one in between the two positives. So remember, this is our negative right here. So I'm going to connect it to this positive connection, but this is our negative, and this one is going to connect to the positive of this voltage, of this battery bank. And right there it tells us 13.44 is our potential voltage difference between the two. This voltmeter, when you kind of move it, it kind of there's like a wire that's messed up somewhat, but it's pretty stable if you don't move it. So that right there, I hope you can see that I've got a little light. Say I move it a little bit, it's gonna. But that's pretty much it. 13.45. Let me get the. So you can see that right there. So this is the 25 volt. I mean the 24 volt battery bank. That's what it's at. That's the 12 volt battery bank. This one in parallel, and this 13.44 is the voltage difference between this positive and this positive. So that's what we're going to run this device, this motor off of. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, what is the practicality of this? What's the advantage of doing this? So the beautiful part of this setup is this. So go back to the schematic, right? So you see I have it here, I drew it where the charging goes that way, basically. So we have the 24 volt battery bank, which is this one. We're going to, you see, let me get another schematic. This will help expand it better. So usually we're going to run it off of 12 volts, right? We're going to run this motor off of, we're actually going to run it off of 13.44 volts right here. That's what we're going to run it off of, right there. Right? Basically, 12 volts, like a 12 volt battery, fully charged. So we're going to, but normally we would run the motor off of one battery, and like I said, it just kills itself over time. The energy goes through the motor, goes back into the battery, and the battery just basically dies over time through the load. The bigger the load, the faster the battery is going to die, right? So the energy is not going anywhere else. And this is a closed loop circuit. So now this is an open loop circuit. Open, non-closed loop circuit, right? And why is that? Is because we have basically between the potential difference right here, the voltage difference, which is 13.3 volts, we're going to run this DC motor right between these two positives, and this higher voltage potential wants to go this way and charge up this battery while it's going through the load. It's going to do that. So now the energy is not going over itself and discharging over itself. The energy is going to go through the load and also go over here and charge this battery up. And whenever this battery gets fully charged, basically we take this battery and we put it in series. We take it out of parallel connection and we wire it in series. Then we take the series battery and take the series connections and connect them in parallel. And then we swap the two positions, and then we run our device again. And what this allows you to do, this setup allows you to run your load, whether it can be a Bedini motor, a Tesla type circuit, an inverter, a light, whatever you want that can run off of 12 volts. And you can scale this up to run on higher voltages in between here, which I already have done, and I'm going to make a video on that after this. That's why I'm showing you the basics of this, so you can follow along if you want. If you want to follow along with everything I'm doing with my post motors and everything, I'm going to be open sourcing all the information on how to do this step by step. And if you have any questions, guys, please ask me in the comments. If you want to have a one-on-one, more in-depth conversation, if you want to learn more about this technology, you can contact me in the comments. Just leave me your email if you're interested, and I'll get in contact with you, and we can get on some video chat or something, and I can explain this to you on a one-on-one, like a Zoom meeting or something. I know a lot more than just this. This is a very cool thing to do with your pulse motors or anything. So yeah, basically you can run a load and you can charge up this battery, and once this battery is charged and this one's discharged, you basically just swap them over and over and over. Now this doesn't last forever, but this does let you run your loads way longer then you're supposed to be able to run your loads. And that's the very beautiful part of it. So, but you can charge one of these battery banks up, and then as long as you can charge one of these up, just one of them, you know, you can keep doing this as long as you want. So this is very interesting too, because like it's very useful. Like if you had, you know, a couple of cloudy days of solar and you weren't getting that much solar, you can do something like this, you know, to run your loads for a longer extended period of time to get you through those couple of days or a couple of hours or whatever of no solar, or get you through the night, you know. But without further ado, let's go ahead and run this. Alright guys, so now I left this lead here for a reason open, so we can connect the negative of the motor. So the negative of the motor is going to get connected here, or anything else pretty much, pulse motor, whatever. So now this is just a standard 12-volt motor. See right here, it's just a standard 12-volt motor. Okay. I want to put this amp meter where you can see it. Okay, so now I'm going to connect as soon as I connect this motor, you're going to see the charging take place. So before I connect it, you're going to see the amp draw go up. On a single battery, or both of them in parallel, was drawing 1 amp, okay? And we were running it at like 12 point something at the time. But we're going to run it off of course, this voltage is going to drop slightly, like every battery does. You got, you know, when the battery's under load, the voltage drops. So, and then it settles, and then, you know. So yeah, you're going to see this 24-volt battery bank start declining in voltage when the motor's running, and you're going to see the 12-volt battery bank start charging up. At the same time we're running this load, this is going to happen, okay? And basically between this voltage right here will also go down, because as this comes up and this goes down, this is gonna change, of course, like a normal battery. So here we go. Without further ado, I'm gonna connect the motor. So there we go. Let's get the close-up of the batteries. So we're running on 12.2 on the and you see this battery is charging up and this battery is going down, right? And you can see the battery on the right is charging up while it's running the load, and we're consuming 1 amp like we were before, just like we were before, right? And the interesting thing is like, yeah, now when I put resistance on the shaft, the amp draw is going to go up, but as it draws more current from this battery, you know, the motor is drawing more current from this battery, it's going to push all that current that it's drawing from this one faster into this one. So whenever I put, you'll see when I put resistance on the shaft, you're going to see this battery voltage drop, but this one's going to go up equally as the amperage goes up. Let me see if I can get it all in one shot together. Let's see, I have a little light on this camera, on this phone. Let me turn it on. Oh, hold on, it's changing colors. Let me change it back to white. Okay, right there. Yeah, it's not that much brighter, but it helps. Okay, so now you can see the needle on the amp meter, and you can see the voltage of the 24-volt bank and this one's getting charged. Now I'm going to put resistance on the shaft, and this motor is going to draw more current out of this battery bank, and you're going to see it, this battery bank rise and this one fall. So ready? See that? See, whenever I put, it draws more current, right? Which this battery bank on the left goes down. See, I'm holding it down, right? And that starts charging faster too, but I let go of it so it drops. So that's basically how this system works. And basically, once this one gets fully charged, we can swap this battery bank. We can swap both of them and then rewire them. So this is the, what some people like to call splitting the positive, or the Tesla 3 battery system. Because you can also do this with 3 batteries. You can just do it with one 12-volt battery instead of 2, and but on the 24-volt side you want to have 2 batteries. And basically you take one off of here, and you just only swap 2, and one of them kind of stays all the time. Which I want to show. I'm actually going to show a comparison of doing it like that way versus this. So I like to do it like this because it's equal amount of the amperage capacity on both batteries is equal. But you see, if this battery wasn't fully charged, if this battery was fully charged like that one was, we would have already been way overcharging this battery to 16, 17 volts. So it's just, think about it like, this is an empty bucket of water, and this is a bucket of water. And this consumes about half of that bucket of water to run. So basically it's going to give half of its energy from here, and it's going to fill up this bucket of water to half, or full, even if you needed it to, however long you let it run, basically. So this could take a while to run. And so basically the more loads I run on this, the faster the charging will be to this one. And you can just keep swapping these over and over and over. So you can do this way longer than just running on all 4 of these batteries. Literally, if you hook all 4 of these batteries in parallel versus running it like this and swapping them over and over and over, you would be able to run this motor way longer than connecting all 4 of these together in parallel. So that's another thing that's very interesting about this setup. And if you want to see the circuit again, let me bring it over here. If you want to get a screenshot of that, I'll try and hold it real still. That's exactly how it's wired right now, the way we're running this. And we're basically running the motor right here between the positives. The negative of the motor is connected here, and the positive of the motor is connected here. So, as a matter of fact, I can show you real quick. So now we know how that works. So this motor's consuming, around 1 amp, using about 1 amp to run. So I'm going to turn off the motor, and I'm going to connect an inverter, 120 volt inverter. So we're going to disconnect the motor right here, which all the charging is going to stop, because the motor is the connection that basically completes the circuit. So we'll get rid of the motor for now. Put it over here. get an inverter, which I do have this pretty cool little inverter. Okay, so I got this little 50 watt. It's a little 50 watt inverter. It's pretty efficient. It's passively cooled. It doesn't have any fans to kick on, which helps with efficiency. I've got two of these. They're really nice. It's for a future experiment. That's why I had to hunt those down on the internet. So we're gonna connect. And right here, I just have a custom wire with two alligator clips that I made. It's just a cigarette lighter outlet, so we can connect the inverter. So I'm going to connect the negative right here, and we're going to connect the positive to the amp meter, to the inverter, and now we're going to connect the inverter right here. And at idle, this inverter doesn't draw a lot of power. You can see it's on right there, the little light on the inverter. Let me turn off this light on the phone so you can see. Okay, so you can see the inverter is on. As a matter of fact, I'll show. I have some voltage testers. Let's see, oh, here they are. So I've got one of these outlet testers. Everybody knows these. Now this inverter doesn't have a ground, of course, but you can see we have the neon lighting up there. We don't have any. I even have another one. This one has it goes from 24 volts to 48 volts to 120 to 240, and this is just an outlet tester, a voltage tester. See right here, I've got up to 120 volts. I have another voltmeter. Let's see. Well, I can just take this one. We'll just take this voltmeter real quick that we're showing this battery. It's at 2543. This battery, but I'm going to disconnect the voltmeter so I can show you the voltage of the inverter. And the inverter is running at 12.91 right now, and it's drawing a very, very small amount of current, as you can see at idle. That's all it draws, because we're not powering anything off of it, but just at idle it's a pretty efficient little inverter. So we'll hook up, we're on AC. You can see right there, 103 volts. AC. Put it on DC. Not gonna get much. It's actually making it go crazy. Yeah, on AC we get 103 volts. So put it back on DC. We'll connect the positive back up over here, and the negative back up right here. So now I could take something like, let's say this light. It does. Actually, I'll just take. See this light right here. This LED light. It needs 120 volts to work. So I'll unplug it right here. Okay. And that goes to this light. It's a 12 volt adapter. This light runs on 12 volts, 1 amp, but of course the input is actually 120 volts. You know, it gets rectified and all that, but yeah, we'll plug it into the inverter. See the little light came on right here? So it's plugged into the inverter, and it's got a little touchscreen button, so you click it. 1, 2, 3. So that's max brightness. And now we're drawing about that much current, and you can see that battery is going up, this battery will go down slowly. And but this is all based on like how much current you're drawing, basically how this works, right? Let's see. So if we can get this inverter to draw up to 1 amp to what the motor was using, we'll have the same charge rate. And as a matter of fact, we can do that. We can get what is that power strip I have? I have a power strip I'm going to connect into this inverter so we can plug more things into it. Okay, so we're going to unplug the light. Here, I'll open the shelf so that way I can put the stuff in here so it doesn't fall. So I'll plug this power strip right here. So I got this power strip hooked up, and we're gonna just plug it up right here, I guess. So the light came on. So I just have the power strip going into the inverter, and I'm gonna turn on the light again. See, right now at idle, we're at, with the light plugged in, you know, it's not on yet, but I'm gonna turn it on. 1, 2, 3. So that's at max brightness. Okay, so now let's plug something else into the actually this is a pretty beefy, this is actually a 12 watt. This is a 12 watt fast charger for phones. So I'll go ahead and plug that in. And we'll plug in, let's say, this phone right here. Okay, so there you go, it's charging. You can see it charging up there. And it's, now we're pulling around 1 amp, you see? See, when I want to zoom in onto the amp meter. You see the icon on the phone. So I'm gonna unplug the phone, and you're gonna see the amp draw goes down. Literally see that. I plug it in. Amp draw goes up to literally 1 amp, and the phone starts charging. So right now, let me go ahead and zoom out. Sorry. So right now we're running this inverter between the two positives, and actually the potential difference is kind of low. It's 1198, but actually, believe it or not, this inverter will run down to around 10 volts. But we're not ruining the batteries, because the batteries are not at 10 volts. Just the potential differences, you know. Then mainly what you want to do with this setup is run a pulse motor in between these two positives and keep rotating these batteries, and from the output of the pulse motor you charge a whole nother battery bank. And that's what I'm already doing. And basically I'm also taking the mechanical power of a second rotor off of my pulse motor, which I have 8 coils over here. Actually, I'll show you. Basically these 8 coils, I'm actually turning that back into electrical energy very efficiently. And I have a whole video I'm going to make on the manual. I can do the whole swap with 3 toggle switches right here with a very unique complicated kind of wiring that I made. I had to figure that out, man. That was a headache. But yeah, I basically figured out how to swap these batteries with 3 toggle switches. But that's not only the only thing that needs to be done. You have to swap the polarity as well, because you're changing the battery bank positions. And so basically with 3 switches in like literally a second, I can take these out of parallel, put them in series, put these in series and parallel, and all in a flick of a switch, basically. So yeah, we're drawing about 1 amp right here. Let me go ahead and put this down for a second. And I'll actually plug up the motor as well, which that's going to really bring the voltage down. So remember, this light right now is running off the inverter. As you can see, the power strip is going to here. This is the power supply for the light, and I'm actually charging this phone at the same time. So it is charging. It's at 59%. I don't know if you can see that. So yeah. But I'm going to be showing a lot of stuff with this battery setup right here. A lot of stuff we're going to be doing with this battery setup, and that's why I'm showing y'all how to do this. Actually, we're drawing over 1 amp. We're drawing like 1.5 amps almost. And this battery bank was at, well, it was at 12.31. I remember 12.31. This one was at 25 point, I can't remember. I have to go back to the beginning of the video, but you pretty much get it. I don't want to make the video any longer. Unless you don't mind long videos, I can show a lot more. If you let me know in the comments, like, if y'all like me making short videos, or do y'all like long videos where I can, like, at this point I would like disconnect this and plug something else to it and show you basically what else I can run in between here, you know. You can run a 5-volt, you know, cigarette lighter, car charger. You can charge your phone doing this in an emergency for a very, very long time versus doing it off of one battery, you know. And basically, yeah, the more load I put on this inverter, the more faster it's going to charge that. And once this is charged up more and this is depleted, yeah, you can just keep doing this over and over and over. There are some videos on YouTube where, like, there was this interesting series I saw, just some small time YouTubers, but him and his grandson, they did this. They ran like 2 motors. They had bigger batteries though. I need to get some big batteries. But it works with any size batteries. This will work with AA's, lithium ion, lead acid. You know, there's no pulse charging going on here. It's just, you know, basically currents are basically moving. That's it. And actually, I want to show you something more further. I'm pretty much done showing you this, how this works. And basically, like, I'll do this real quick. So, like, I'll turn it off. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the inverter, which the light turns off. The phone turned off over there. That's why it came on. So what we're gonna do now, and you can see our voltages. So the inverter is completely disconnected now. There's no load. The amp draw went down to 0, like absolutely 0. Oh, this voltmeter went to sleep. So yeah, it's at 12.65, and that's at 25.35. So you can see that this battery came up from 12.31 to 12.64. and that's our voltage difference. Went down a little bit. But as this goes lower and this goes higher, this voltage difference, when I swap the battery, you see it's 12.77, right? Okay, so our voltage difference is 12.77. Our parallel battery is that, and pretty much that on the 24 volt bank. So now I'll do this pretty quickly. We'll swap the battery banks real quick. So now I'm going to disconnect these out of parallel. Okay, taking these out of parallel, I'm going to put the parallel connectors over there, and I'm going to put this in series, and I'm going to bring these batteries from the these were the series ones. So now I'm going to take these are now in series. I'm going to put these here now, and we're going to put these here, and I'm going to wire these in parallel. And let's see where that connector go. And we're going to put these, so we're bridging the positives again and the negatives together. So there's that. So now the voltage on this was the 24 volt battery, but now it's the 12 volt battery. So we'll read the voltage off of this battery bank. Then go to reach over here. So this battery's at, oops, sorry, I put it backwards. Polarity. So this battery bank's at 1272. We'll go ahead and put our amp meter back on here. And we'll bridge our negatives together. Negative there, negative goes here. And our voltmeter that we were using for the 24 volt bank is this one. So we'll connect it to here, negative, and then the positive will be here. So this is at 25.16, and then our potential difference, we were reading it with this voltmeter right here, the green voltmeter in the middle. So I'll go ahead and put that on the negative, on the positive. I'll just put it right here, this one, and then on the positive of this over here. You can still see all that, right? I need some more slack in the mouse. There we go. We're going to connect the negative of this middle voltmeter to the positive of the parallel bank over here. And now I'm going to connect this positive of the voltmeter to the positive of the 24 volt bank, so we can read the potential difference. So now we have a potential difference of 12.3, and we have 25.12 over here and 12.73 over here. So now we can go ahead and connect our load again. So we're going to connect this to we'll connect the negative of the inverter to the positive of the parallel bank, and then we'll connect the positive of the inverter to the positive of the 24 volt bank right here, and we're going to connect it in line with the inverter. So let me get this wire down out of the way so you can see the amp meter. There we go. So now the inverter is back on. You can see the light came on. My phone just turned on because it's starting to charge. Then we'll turn on this light. Beep. So that's maximum brightness, and you can see that's already charging to 13. Our potential voltage difference that we're running off of is 1123, and we're consuming about an amp and a half, or a little bit over slightly. So as you can see, this battery bank's getting charged up pretty good. But of course, you know, our pulse motors, they don't consume that much power. But this works really well with bigger batteries. They won't drop as fast like the way this is doing right now. These are little 7 amp hour batteries, because remember, these are in series. So this is really a 7 amp hour battery, and this one is actually a 14 amp hour battery. But the watts are the same. You know, if you did the 12 volts times 7, you would get your watts. And if you did 12 times 14, you would get your watts. And if you did 24 times 7, you would get your watts, but they would be the same wattage. That's why I would like to do it like this, so the amp capacity, the amperage capacity is matched. So really you want to charge this up back to only to 13.5, this battery right here. You don't want to charge these over 13.5. 13.5 is a good voltage for these batteries, because these are sealed lead acid batteries. So 12.5 right there. So I'll go ahead and turn it off. So we're at 23.85 on the 24 volt bank. So I'll go ahead and turn everything off. All I gotta do is disconnect one connection, and you'll see the resting voltages come down. Let me turn on my little camera light. So you can see the battery is starting to recover. So what I'll do real quick is I'll disconnect the negatives from both banks. I'll go ahead and swap them back again real quick. Take off the voltmeter. Take off that. We'll go ahead and disconnect our parallel connections. Go over here. Disconnect that. And take the series connector. Put the parallel bank in series. And put the series bank in parallel. So now the series bank is in parallel. I'm going to go ahead and move them over here. And then move these over here. Which I don't really have to move them, but I like y'all to just see it the way that's supposed to be. So now, connect the voltmeter back up to this. To the parallel bank now. And it's at 12.35. Connect the negatives up together again. Negative here to negative over here. And then this is both positives of both voltmeters here. We'll connect our amp meter. Connect our voltmeters. So we have we actually got 26 volts on this now. And then we have, see, where's my negative? Oh, I forgot to connect the negative. Okay, we got to connect the negative of this voltmeter to the parallel bank positive. So we have 13.61 as our potential voltage difference again. We have 2597 on the series bank and 12.35 on the parallel bank. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect the negative of the inverter to the positive of the 12 volt bank, and then I'm going to connect the positive of the inverter to the positive of the 24 volt bank in line through the inverter. I mean through the amp meter, sorry. Here we go again. My phone started charging. Turned on. Inverter's on. And you can see the voltages are changing. Now we're drawing about 1 amp. So now I'm going to turn on the light. 1, 2, 3. So now we're drawing a little bit over 1 amp. And you can see the whole process is starting over again. And you see we have a little bit of a higher potential difference voltage, which will come down. And yeah, man, you can just keep doing this over and over and over what I'm showing you. But I've made it a lot easier than just swapping it manually like that. I mean, if you had bigger batteries like this, if you had 4 of them wired exactly the same as the schematic right here, right, this would last a lot longer without you having to swap these over and over so often, you know. But I have it figured out already right here with these 3 switches. Basically this is what you would have to wire for a bigger battery bank, but I'm gonna make this automated, where basically I'm gonna make a circuit that does it automatically. And it's a good thing that I'm draining these batteries, because I am going to show my pulse motor next, now running on this battery setup. But I have on my pulse motor for this battery bank on the left, I have 4 batteries on this side, and I have 4 batteries on this side, to basically give me a 24 volt potential difference, because my motor likes to run on 24 volts. So if you wanted to run on a higher voltage, you would basically scale this. Like some people's motors run on 100 volts, you know, pulse motors. You can definitely scale this up, you know. And if it doesn't consume a lot of current, this will definitely work out for you. And you can run your motor like 50% even longer, even if you wanted to. And you would, you know, you can just charge it up with the solar panel, reuse the energy, whatever, from your collapsing magnetic fields, back EMF. Let me see, what are we at? This one's getting ready to go to sleep. Yeah, we're running that light and we're charging this phone right now. Let's see, what is my phone at? So we're at 63 volts. Let me 63 volts. 63%. Hang on. Yeah, so it's charging pretty quickly. So this video is already an hour long, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right here, I guess. Pretty much showed the operation of the 4 battery system and how this works. So I'm gonna make another video with the pulse motor, but basically, yeah, I showed this running, you know, an inverter and a DC motor. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and stay tuned for the next one, guys. Alright. Still drawing about over 1 amp. I'll give you one more shot of the voltmeters here. And just to finish it off, as a matter of fact, I'll turn it off and I'll just put the motor back on to show you where we started from. So we'll disconnect the inverter, unplug the power strip, put the inverter out of the way, and we'll bring the motor back. 12-volt motor. We'll connect the negative back here. Let me plug the light back up so you can see. Plug it back into the outlet. Get this charger out of the way. So now all we got to do is connect the positive back to the amp meter. There's our motor. Drawing 1 amp. And as you can see, as I put resistance on the shaft, you'll see that the motor, the battery bank on the right starts to rise. The tighter I hold it down, oh, see, it goes to 13 volts. Crap, that freaking burnt my finger. Because I'm putting more resistance, it draws more current from this battery bank, and it wants to flow more into this one. But yeah, I mean, that's real torque. You know, this motor is really running. It's running on 11 volts under load, of course. But that potential difference would hold up a little bit better if these batteries were, maybe if this one was more charged actually in the beginning, it would be around 12 volts. But you can also, if you ever wanted to make this really work really nicely without, you know, the voltage being like that, you can put a buck boost DC converter between the positives, and then the output of that regulated output can go to something like this, and you would have your, you know, stable, you know, voltage. And that would be pretty good, because even though this is charging and this is dropping, the voltage for the load would stay the same up into a certain limit, you know, depending on what the parameters of the voltage input is for the DC to DC buck boost converter. Yeah, I find this really interesting. I could make videos like this for hours, guys. I love doing this stuff. I find it very, very interesting. Anyway, so this video's getting pretty long. It's gotten pretty long already. But I hope I covered enough stuff here and showed a lot of stuff, you know. Opening a new door here for y'all, you know, in the energy field. If y'all haven't played with this battery setup, this is how you do it. And this is how you want to do it with 4 batteries. At least that's how I do it. But just so everything equals the same when you keep swapping them over. Anyways, if you have any questions, let me know. The next video is going to be me running a pulse motor, and I'm gonna catch you up on what's going on with that. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a glimpse. Sorry, I got a big mess here. I got a lot of things I gotta work on. But y'all saw the videos I did on the coil shorting circuitry back then. Let me see, where's the old one I used to have? So y'all have seen the single version of the coil shorting circuit that I demonstrated in the last videos, and they basically look like this. This is a Bedini SG circuit, but it looks almost exactly like this. But I already did make the circuit I was talking about. Let me just get it out of here. So this is the one that I just made recently, and this is a big 8 transistor coil shorting circuit that I made, and I've showed this to a couple of people in some video chats, but I'm getting ready to show this now. I do gotta do a couple of things to this to make sure that these transistors are firing off completely, and I am going to change all these transistors to MOSFETs. I'm going to convert this to a MOSFET circuit, which I have all the parts pretty much already. But yeah, so as you can see, there's 4 transistors. There's 8 of them, but there's 4 on each side. And basically, you know, each transistor connects to a bifilar circuit. So there's 8 circuits. I mean, it connects to a coil. Sorry about that. So basically, I made that circuit for this. For all these 8 coils up here, each one of them gets a transistor connected to it, and they all short out with their own trigger windings. So, or actually, I can actually use one trigger winding, and it'll short them all out depending on where I place that trigger winding. And whenever they're getting shorted, I'm getting 8 pulses per revolution. Each one of these neons will light up. And like, let's say if and all the outputs are connected to combined, all the spiked energy is combined to one output right here. You can see all the diodes connect together. But basically, this is, you know, this circuit took me a while to make. Took me a long time to make that. So, and yeah, I'm going to be showing that in the next video. So basically, I want to take all this energy, all this the radiant spike energy that comes off them, because I'm making radiant spike energy from just rotation of magnets going past these coils, and I'm shorting them at a specific timing with the circuit, and I'm getting 8 pulses per revolution, and I'm only driving it with 2 Bedini coils on the bottom, which those Bedini coils with 2 Bedini circuits are still charging 2 battery banks. So all in a nutshell, I'm using this big battery bank that the other 4 are being used right here for this demonstration, but those would be right here connected to these switches, and my Bedini circuits will connect to these batteries right here, and basically the batteries will be rotating between the splitting the positive method. So this is all my run battery setup right here, and that allows me to run this for a very, very, very long time. And then I can, off the Bedini, you know, I'm running the Bedini motor off of these batteries here, and it's charging another battery bank over here, all these batteries over here. And basically, I can also take all these coils on the top now and charge a whole nother battery bank if I want, or charge back into these batteries when they get low, or charge a capacitor bank, dump it into something, whatever. So that's where I'm at with this setup. Yeah, I think it's going to be phenomenal when I'm done with this. But this motor, I've just been using it to learn the circuitry side of things. I'm not really too worried about this because, like I said, what's going to replace this whole setup with this motor is going to be that one right there. It's going to be a little bit bigger than this one. But yeah, that's the dual rotor setup. That with this type of geometry setup with this motor, you basically have 8 magnets that go on the top right here, and basically these all eight magnets on top are going to be facing north down. So the top of the coil is going to be receiving a north, and on the bottom the coil is going to be receiving a south. So basically 4 coils are going to be pulse motor coils, and 4 coils are going to be generator coils. Or I can do it differently, but I am going to build a bigger version of this because, or I'm actually going to probably, I have a whole nother motor just like this with all the bolts and everything. This is all stainless steel as well. Every single part of this is non-magnetic stainless steel, so there's no magnets that stick to any part of this motor. And these spools I'm actually going to 3D print. I just cut these out with a hole saw cutter with a drill press. and then I use some really strong glue, that's good for PVC and acrylic and stuff. But they came out okay. But I'm actually going to make the coils maybe a little bit shorter, and make this a little bit shorter. And they're going to have iron cores inside of here, or actually ferrite. I would like to use ferrite instead. I don't know, I'll probably make 2 sets of coils, try it all out. But that's what I'm going to get to next, is experimenting with this pretty soon, hopefully. But I do need to get some money to get the wire to wind these coils, and I need to print those coils out. So if you haven't watched my update video of why I've been gone for around 10 months, it's the first video I posted today. So I've been trying to bang out some videos today, and yeah, I want to show this stuff pretty soon. So I've been just going at this all day actually. But I do need y'all's support financially. If y'all can help me, I need to make a PayPal donate, but I have a Cash App. I know not everybody has Cash App, but if you do, and if you want to support my research and everything, I'm teaching y'all as much as I can. You're gonna see a lot of videos almost every day. I'm gonna try and make a video today. So far, this will be the 3rd video I've made. But let's see where we're at here. So we're still running the motor, still running around 1 amp, slightly less, and we're at 23.64 and 1282 on the parallel bank, and we're running at a potential difference of 10 volts, so that's already pretty low. One last time to end the video, I'll swap it around one more time, and then that's it. I'll end the video. So I'm going to disconnect the motor. I'll disconnect voltmeter. Disconnect the negatives. We'll take the series connection off here. Take the parallel connection off here. Put these in series. And then we'll just bring those over here. Put these in parallel. Make the motor negative. Voltmeter. This is the negative to the potential difference voltage. Connect that there. So this parallel bank is at 1267. Connect that meter back up here. And then we'll bridge the negatives, and this is the negative to the voltmeter of that one. Connect the negative. And then we'll connect our 2 positives to these 2 voltmeters over here. So you can see now we're back at 25. We got 25, 23 on this battery bank right here. Our voltage potential difference is 1256, 1255. And on the parallel bank we have 1267. So we'll go ahead and connect the motor again. There it is. parallel bank starts charging up, and the series bank starts discharging through the load, and we're consuming around 1 amp. Free. I burned my hand. So yeah, that's it guys. Again, I highly recommend you try this circuit out. You'll have a good one. Oh, and don't forget, please like and subscribe to the channel and share these videos. Please share the videos. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good one. If you have any comments, questions, just, reach me in the comment section. Alright guys, signing out.